Oh, namaste, good morning. Here he comes. Okay, go sit, find a spot.
Find your place.
It's so funny, you had to come up. So anyway, Siddhananda was here and just came out to give me a report, and so it's like
The way it's said.
report in passing.
We do live together, you know.
Well, you wonder sometimes. I mean, because we see each other in passing. Yeah, I'm out here working.
I came out from my cave.
She came out for her. Well, the guys have man caves. You have a woman cave or something over there. I don't
all
know.
my creations in there and all that good stuff. You know how it is.
So that's it. You know. But anyway,
You put that came out of her what? Where?
Inner sanctum in there.
Oh, there she is.
There she is. She does show up on occasion. Yeah, in passing we see each other. You know.
We have our own lives. Yes, we really do.
We really do. Yeah, I'm usually out here, and she's in inner sanctum over there. So anyway.
Oh man,
It's kind of funny, but it works out okay. So anyway, we were talking about, she was just came out to tell me, you know, the ongoing shifts that are taking place, and so I thought it might be nice to, you know, have the discussion here, you know, as to what's going on.
Yeah, I was just saying, especially in the last couple of days, I mean, there's been a very, so many experiences that have come and gone with no mind and stillness, and in the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 days, especially last night, just that, that stark absolute there, and absolutely no persona, no past, no present, and the sensory experience dissolved, as well as the body consciousness, all of it is just coming more and more, and daily, very rapidly. So
Coming to the end of cutting that last thread. So
it feels that way. It's totally spontaneous. It's everything just, you know, and I've said these words before, but again, you know, I'm not saying that all thoughts are completely gone at this point, but they're so much, they're like feathery, they're light, and it just is taken away. I mean, that's the best way that I can describe it, and it's just like a shadow of a self, really, that's remaining. Very wispy, and boy, I can barely speak. I don't even know how to describe it, you know, and it's that understanding without understanding. And
when it comes, that's it. I mean, and there's no, you can't plan for it. You can't, you know, force it to happen. In your case, it has been more, like you were saying, the grinding away. It's been a little slower. In my case, it was just boom, and it was just more, just very distinct and just boom. Like I said, I sat down and everything deconstructed, and then from that point, it just went. Yours has been a little bit more slower of a falling away, you know, but it's been grinding down and grinding down and grinding down, and eventually you're going to come to the very last thing where that last little thread snaps, and that will be that. Yeah.
And you know, I can feel that. Mostly what I have felt in the past with those states of just not recognizing yourself as you were at all.
Right.
Not at all. And that's becoming more and more the norm lately. And like it even in the last few days, even more so, where that person, now I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't tell you that person.
Who was that?
Honestly.
What was that?
What was that? You know, it's like it never existed. And again, these things have come in spurts. What a journey, though. I mean, and there's still phenomena here. So, you know, I don't even really speak of it to Guruji unless it really is feeling very very much of a profound shift, because there could be a lot of talk and, it just, then the next day it's gone. So I just have noticed it doesn't matter anymore what comes and goes. It just, because it goes, and it goes very quickly. But this is something different. This is more.
But eventually the rest of the phenomena will also blow out. But that, again, that can take a little while to wind down as well. Just like it's taking a while for the thoughts and all of that to wind down and dissipate. But you'll find out as you go, the phenomena is going to wind down, and eventually you will be sans phenomena.
Oh, I won't miss it.
You won't miss it.
It's been a good, 20 years of Kriyas now.
Yeah. And it can take a while. It can take a while for that stuff to finally blow out. But I can say it does eventually blow out, and you don't have to deal with that type of phenomena for the most part. Just very, very rarely something will happen. Like I said, when I was in India and I had a student who was very ill, I got that phenomena of feeling that illness. And, so something like that, on occasion you might have something that will come in, but it's, for the most part, that's gone.
That sounds fine. I don't miss any of it. Okay.
All the lights, all the colors, all the sounds, all the verbalization, all the kriyas and the automatic movements and all of that, winds down, blows out, and then one goes through that, time of just the consciousness just going a little more deeper and getting more settled. And when it first blows out, it seems to be really kind of awe-inspiring at first. You're just, walking around with your eyes like this for the first couple years. It's like, whoa. But eventually that goes as well. And it just becomes like your normal consciousness. It's your norm.
Right, yeah. There's been enough of it here, it seems that, well, of course, in living with you, that, even before, I just lost my words.
Yeah, and it comes to that point in the journey. If you start speaking and you stop, you're so in the moment, that goes. I mean, you can't even recollect it. It's just gone. So once you start saying something, you need to continue with that, because if you stop, then it drops, and that's it. It's gone.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yep, there it was. It was there. It was gone.
Boy.
Okay. So that's one of the things, again, that can take place as well.
Yeah. Well, here, all that spontaneous writing came, and things are flowing in that way, which words are come out or in writing that I don't know where they come from or anything like that, but they just are there. And a lot of shifts like that since being here as well. Kriya is definitely always in motion, but that state of not recognizing yourself as before is getting, just like I say, in the last 3 days, just boom, that's just coming in, and it's just so much of the time now, and it comes in. There'll be a few thoughts, and that persona is felt, and then it's completely dissolved away, like a little shadow.
Yeah, that's
just
the very odd experience, when that one that you thought you were, like I said, in my case, it was just very point blank, boom, and done. Yours is more the wearing away thing. But once that goes, it's like that never happened.
Yeah.
That's why, then you understand why Buddha said awakening out of the dream, because it was like that was a dream. That was, something else. I was never that. And this is why you hear so many in non-duality say, I've never been born, I've never died, I was never that. That was the illusion, that was the delusion, that's what was driving the mind and the mind spin and the stories. And when all of that goes, then one is just directly that is, and that consciousness, and that's all one can say at that point, just is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing how few words can be spoken of it, really, and even that. I know there's a lot of writing that flows, but really there's just so few words that, or no words that can,
Right, and,
it's zero, I
you'll
guess.
find that as you go, what happens as well when everything first deconstructs, it's very difficult to use the word I. Very difficult, because that's not part of the mentality, that's not part of the reality. So people want to think you're trying to make some big affected speech. And that's not it. It's not that, because that's just simply, there is no feeling of that persona any longer. So, then when you're working, like I'm, here, been working with groups for so long, that eventually you have to learn to get back into that type of pattern of speech, because people don't understand it, Then you get the invited police after. Well, you said I. Well, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah,
But,
you have to be able to communicate.
You have to be able to communicate.
Absolutely.
But, again, that what is within the consciousness is so different. It is not a solidified I. It is not a solidified me with a story. That's what I've said, and the ones that want to keep going back, like in a sign of disrespect to you, Sharon. Sharon died. She died in 1999. Okay? She died the death. She left the building. She's no longer there.
So all those things you want to say about Sharon, like she's delusional and everything, she was. But
She
she's
was.
not here anymore.
But she
Okay.
left the building in 1999.
So go ahead and say it about Sharon all you want, because she doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly. She was gone.
Right.
They should have buried that one. I tell you, that body, because But anyway, yeah, it's such a difference when one wakes up. You see with totally new eyes. It's the same world. Nothing in the world has changed, yet everything has changed in an instant.
Yeah.
Nothing and everything.
That's it. Yeah.
So all I do is I sit and laugh, and she's like, ah.
I know. Yeah. But the functioning goes on, believe me, and it's a very gentle. It's just gentle and quiet, and
Whatever needs to get done gets done. Whatever needs to happen happens. I mean, that's it. The flow of life continues, And so again, there's nothing to fear in that, just because that old me story deconstructs and no longer has that existence or that drive or that pull or that drama, doesn't mean that life ends. In fact, one is just beginning life. One is just at that point, and what you'll find is you just begin to live.
yes, I guess.
Before, at least for what was here, before it was existing. I couldn't say it was living, it was not living, it was torturous, it was suffering, it was, it was so difficult, that life, as that person, Sharon, had a very difficult life,
Yeah, well, here, when, any time the feeling of that persona comes in, it's painful. It's
Exactly.
even if there's thoughts that seem like they're good or whatever, it's just a painful thing. And what's amazing is that is just like stagnant energy that just gets dissolved, and like it never was, just like dream energy or something. It just, you don't really know until you're out of it.
Exactly.
It just, You think that's all that you are, and it's absolutely false.
Yeah, it's such a thing when you finally wake up, when there's an awakening, and one looks back and sees, oh my God, what was that? What was that? And when you're in it, when you're searching and you're searching, and that persona and that story is so consuming, and you're being so driven by it. Yes, absolutely. It's suffering. It's a suffering. Even in the happy times, it's suffering.
It is.
There's a suffering
Because you're driven
element
by
to it.
something. You're just driven by some kind
Exactly.
of force or energy that
You're
it's
trying
not
to-
settled.
Right, you're trying to push something away, you're trying to cling
yeah.
to something to try to give you some stability somewhere,
Right.
and it doesn't matter what the dynamic is, there is going to be that suffering element because you don't want things to change. You don't want, and then when you finally, everything falls away and deconstructs and you're in that that presence is eternal and unchanging. Whether bodies come, bodies go, experience comes, experience goes, whatever comes, whatever goes, that is unchanging, and it's going to continue.
It's pure consciousness.
Pure consciousness.
Yeah.
And then at that point, like I said, eventually you come back into life full swing, kind of where you began, but you kind of come up on another level. You start here and you go full circle, but your first full circle kind of ends like up here rather than,
Yeah.
rather than down.
Yeah.
When you say full circle, it doesn't mean you come back to persona and the drama and the
Back
nonsense
to the present,
that was driving that. No, you come back to the present,
Mhm.
and you're in the now, and you're in that flow of life spontaneously as it comes.
Yes.
And all these ideas one has, right, wrong, this, that, black, white, all that drama. It has to be this way, has to be that way. It's the only way it can be,
You're so funny. I was just going to say that. She always gets it a little quicker.
Well, it's coming. It'll eventually show up.
It's catching up.
It's catching up.
catching up.
It's catching
Slow
up.
but steady. Watch out, right?
But yeah, that's what happens, what takes place. Again, there's another grand shift that takes place. And the journey is one of many, many shifts along the way.
Yeah. Oh, boy, is it ever.
Surprise.
Oh, yeah. And you just don't know. You don't know what's going to be around the next corner. You're just doing your practice as usual or whatever, and things may seem status quo, but around that next corner there can be a major, major shift, which has happened here many, many times, and it's definitely and people that again, and when I came here too, just being around Guruji all the time, there was a lot more notice that just kind of was flushing out because I wasn't, I was more in the world with working and raising my child and things. So you kind of get into that, okay, it comes and goes thing, and it just was racing and flushing through, and a ton of I just don't speak about it because it's kind of been my daily existence for so many years. It's like, okay, and this is the way it is. Well, but anyway, and then just a lot of dropping away of mind, of course, the same stuff, more getting more solids, like I say, the spontaneous writing, different phenomena that's come. And then this, that has just been much more just with that emptiness beyond words, and it's just.
And I think, people, when you say emptiness, a lot of times they don't understand what's meant by emptiness. Emptiness is more, it's not empty, devoid.
No.
It's not devoid. It's a fullness as well. It's whole and complete as it is, but it just doesn't have all that content of stickiness and drama and all of that.
Well, exactly. It's empty of suffering and and the persona and all that's been gathered and collected of concepts, the whole thing. And it's not within that emptiness, there's a nothing. There's a
Right,
yeah,
but
there's
not
a
a nothing
fullness.
as in nihilism.
No,
It's not a
exactly.
nihilistic
Not at
thing.
all.
It's absolutely full of that presence, but that presence is not an objective thing that one can view as a separation, So one starts to dissolve and melt into that. And one says empty because it's not filled with objects like you see in the world of duality. Yet it's very much full, very present, very full of the life force. It's 100% more real than any object that you can see and touch and hear. Has more reality than that.
Well, it's like these objects don't exist, but I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, it's very hard to describe. It's very hard to describe.
They don't have any solidity in terms
Right.
of being real, but yet it's seen with the eyes, but it's not.
It's not a separation in
No.
consciousness. One knows that whatever one sees with the eyes is all consumed by that is.
Yes, that's it. It's
And that it's more like a prism that Shakti is making the appearance like you have a light and it appears as many colors when it goes through a prism. Okay, it's one light, it appears as many colors. It's sort of like that type of thing, that one is always aware of that. Yes, the eyes see a world of duality, but the consciousness registers this non-dual is and this being.
right. No matter what is seen by the eyes or heard or anything, that pure consciousness is what is the
Primary.
Primary.
Paramount, primary and paramount, I think is the easiest way to say it.
That's
Primary and paramount. It's
Thank
very
you.
difficult.
You've got the words coming out because they're not coming. So I'll just kind of start stuttering, and then she'll bring them out so they make sense. Okay, maybe later it'll make more sense. Because it doesn't make sense to mind, and there's no way that you could make it so that mind will get it. That's the beauty of it. It's that mind that is creating the suffering, and I don't know. There was a picture that I saw that I thought was funny, where they have Ganesha and then they have the moon laughing, and what that means is how ego in the mind laughs at wisdom. They're just, oh yeah, right.
Sure.
And
Sure.
it's just not going to get it.
Doesn't get it.
And
Well,
never
that's it. You
will.
can't speak of it because all words come from duality, and no matter what word you use, it's dualistic in nature. Even if you say non-dual, first the mind goes to duality and tries to then, frame it. So that's why one says they can't speak of it. There is no language of non-duality, really. They've got some words that they use, but the words are still dualistic in nature.
Words. Yeah.
They're still words. It's still like objective and etc. So really, one can only experience it. One can only live within that reality. But to speak of it, try to define it, try to box it in, it will never happen.
It's not going to happen, and it
Never
has to
happen.
be experienced to know. To know it, where just that whole separate story just completely goes, and it never was. It never was who you were.
I think that's the most shocking thing to find out. I was never that. Thank God I was never that. Because, but it had a long run.
Oh boy, does it ever.
It has many lifetimes of old film.
Old tapes. That's right.
Old
Keep
tapes,
the energy
old
going.
film. And
you buy into
so
it.
many
You think
parts.
it's real.
Yeah, and you buy into it for so many lifetimes. Kind of like the dream. You wake up from the dream, and the dream seems real when you're in it so many times. Very lucid dreams, but when you wake up, you just go, oh.
Thank God that wasn't real.
Thank God.
It's just
Thank
not, well,
God.
mostly, but it's just like it just fades like it never was. That's what this is like. And, you know, that's what this is like.
So I think that's best we can do at
Yeah,
this
for
point,
how
trying to explain the process and what happens. But again, it all happens in its own timing. Yes, it does help if you're around Guru because it's a wearing away. It's why they say, you go into an ashram because it's a constant, you're entering the fire. It's not fun and games. It's not all play. It's burning away that dross, refining. The refining happens in the fires of purification.
Yeah, and
So
I have to say, it's been, yeah, I know I don't speak about it because, like I say, this has been ongoing and intense for years. And coming here, it's intensified and yet deepened it at the same time. But it's been a constant intensity 24/7. I don't, it's no joke, it's no game. Like I just keep going, and I guess sometimes just feeling like you're just enduring it versus, oh God, but it just, and continue with the practices and just continue through whatever's happening. And that's what needs to be done. Whether you're, I started I was raising a child. I was single mom, so you start where you're at and you just keep on. And the conditions will change eventually and bring about what's needed at that time.
exactly.
That's just how it works. You just keep on, and you never know. And it's a surprise. You don't know.
You never know when that date and time is going to come. One never knows when that last death experience is going to rise or when that last falling away, um, is going to happen. You can't plan it, you can't pencil it in, and you can't say it's going to take X amount of time. It's not a college course that's mapped out, and you get this lesson at this time, and it's going to take this long, and you need so many credits before you graduate.
It's just the opposite. You think you've understood something. Maybe mind might think it's understood something by reading or hearing, but the experiences blows that out of the water so completely beyond
what the mind
words.
wants to try to construct around it or think that it is so far off base
flimsy
from what the experience ever is.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's so shocking, or when you tell people this needs to take place, and they come to you and say, "But this happened." Well, haven't I not said that?
Right.
Have I not said that? But well, what? But I'm giving you exactly what has to take place. But no, it's real. Well, yeah.
Exactly. They're trying to say, no, this is this way, but yeah.
But no, it's supposed to be a concept.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be an idea about it. It's not supposed to be an actual experience.
It's supposed to come to me and make me feel better and all these things.
Yeah. When you say you have to face the fears and the death experience and all of that, when it actually comes up, people freak out. But no, you don't understand. I'm really gonna die. It's really, they think it's some kind of a intellectual ideology that all they have to do is adopt and say, well, I got it now. Well, no, you don't. You have to have the direct experience of it, and the direct experience is not what your mind and your fantasy is going to construct about it.
No, because as soon as you construct those fantasies too, there's fear that comes in too. It's the constant, that's not it at all. All of that goes.
All of it goes.
And there's still more here. Like there's still some. It's just this persona that's kind of shadowy that dissolves, intermittently, which has been happening. But I just living here. I don't bring up a whole lot with Guruji because I just keep on, through the
What are you
fires.
going to do anyway?
What can you say?
You just got to keep going through, until it all wears away and burns away, and
There's
that's
nothing more to say about it, because it just would be another thing the next day. So I just let all that go and just continued on. And so I brought this up to her today. And so I know she knows it's a valid thing because I don't sit here and do this every day, right?
No, it's not talked about every day, and
I don't tell her my experiences every day or anything.
No.
I just kind of just here I've just said so much that not so much, but it's come and gone and everything. I just am in. Just want the thing to go. Okay, just want to be done. But so it definitely is, and and I'll be completely,
all in its time.
All in its time.
All in its time.
And I'll be
That's all
completely
one can
honest
say.
when it's all completely, every thought is gone. But it's definitely.
Even when everything it deconstructs, and like I said, it can be in and out for a while, and that's why it takes a good, sometimes for here, it was a good 10 to 12 years before it was totally, unmoving, constant, unwavering. Nothing is going to change that. So again, once things finally deconstruct and that eye deconstructs and that thoughts go, for a while it's just very wide-eyed wonder. Everything is magical. Everything is just feels so expanded and so awe-inspiring that one's walking around like this for a few years. But then as one goes, it settles and it becomes the normal thing, and eventually, like I said, it fully grounds and fully just is what is. And then one day, again, another door opens out of the blue. Yet again, out of the blue, another door will open and you'll be fully back into life again in another segment of it.
Just all spontaneous in its own time.
Everything in its own time.
And you don't know.
Never.
Even after realization, there's surprises.
There are still some surprises left after realization. There are still some surprises that come along the way. So
the adventure continues, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's not. Then it's an adventure.
Then it becomes play of God.
Yeah.
It becomes play at that point. Moksha. Then one has really fully entered moksha and liberation, and then life really begins. Then you really begin to live rather than exist.
Beautiful thing.
It's a good thing.
It's
a good thing. No matter how difficult the path is, no matter how much suffering was there, no matter how much terror and fear and suffering and drama and all of the phenomena and all of the things that one goes through along the way, in the end, you wouldn't trade it for anything, because when you get out of that and you come to life and you come to being reborn, what they term reborn, and you begin to live, then it's all been worth it. It's all been worth it.
It's really what the whole search was about. I mean, it's not just to really experience that peace, that unshakable, non-dual consciousness.
That peace that passes understanding.
That's it.
Yes.
And then it's what the whole thing is about. The ripe fruit or whatever that comes. All of it. From all of the suffering and the toil. Keep on. Keep going.
So don't stop.
Don't stop.
Don't
Absolutely.
stop. Continue forward in your journeys, and continue to surrender within, and just have that faith that eventually that it's going to reach its fruition and its end point, and then the mysteries are revealed, one can say. Yeah. If you want to know God, you're going to know God. And trust me, God is not what people's constructs are concerning what God is and what God isn't. You'll be very surprised, and it's all an excellent thing to discover.
No doubt.
So I will leave you with the one of my favorite sayings, the Sufi sayings. When I am, God is not. When I am not, God is.
Perfect. Okay. Beautiful.
So we'll leave that at that.
True.
Namaste.
Namaste.